Alrighty, guys, so welcome back to another episode of Meet the Wild. Today we have on two special guests. They've been on a couple podcasts before. Brandon, Caleb, you want to introduce yourselves?
Sure. I'm Caleb Vandergroof. I currently reside in northern New Jersey as well with these guys, and I grew up alongside of them, and we kind of went our different ways for college time period and whatnot, and we're bringing it back full circle now and hitting the woods and the swamps pretty hard nowadays and the water.
What's your occupation that allows you to
Look at this guy.
follow your passion?
I feel like you guys open the podcast every time with the same thing.
What?
I can't remember a time he asked me my occupation.
Yeah.
I
I
didn't even know
swear
he knew
we
that
talked
word.
about
Keep
your
going, keep
family's
going.
business every time you're on.
No,
No, I don't think so.
I don't think we have either. Go ahead.
All right.
All right. Well,
Take it away. Take the floor.
Our family has an excavating business. We do everything from land clearing to pond building to road building. You name it, we do it. And we're starting to dive deeper into the reclamation side of things and wetland management and anything that basically pertains to being a good steward of the earth and reclaiming everything that man has made into just disaster. So while we are also moving forward in the name of mankind in construction, we're taking a few steps backwards to fix the things that are broken. So that's my passion. But with that being said,
I feel like you just wrote a poem.
I know.
Yeah, that was very smooth.
He definitely figured that out before he got on.
I'll make sure we get it on the new website.
Yeah.
With that being said, that does a lot for time during the winter to, if you really give it hard all spring and summer and fall, to during the winter to take some time to really enjoy God's creation. So that's
Absolutely.
Amen.
Best blessing about work. How about you, Brandon? Can you tell us a little bit about your occupation?
So currently, as of today, I'm unemployed.
Oh, today was your last day?
Yeah, today was my last day.
Congratulations.
Brandon is a man with many options.
Many
options.
With work.
I bounce around quite a bit, but
He's engaged, so in that category, he doesn't have many options.
I was going to say.
I'm also engaged. Melissa was griping on me. I wasn't.
Thank you, Tyler.
Melissa's like, every opportunity you have, you never mention my name. I'm like, I'm sorry, honey. So
I thought the first podcast
out.
we said we were going to try not to talk about our significant others. And that
I
one
know.
right out
She
the
wanted
window.
a shout out, so I'm giving her one.
I would. It's worth it.
Yeah. You want to give one so you don't look bad? Or Abby doesn't watch them? Or actually,
I don't think she knows how to get to the link yet. Probably because I thought it was the Voice of the Wild. So she's probably looking up the Voice of the Wild. She's like, I don't see anything on here. Are these guys actually podcasting in the basement?
What are they doing down there?
They're in the beaver den, and they're not even podcasting.
Voice of the Wild. Yeah, we missed the boat on that one.
That's the new blog that we're coming out with.
Yeah, Will says he's going to start writing blogs. That's going to be called Voice of the Wild.
I think Brandon, you said
Yeah.
you're going to...
I'll start blogging for you
Yeah,
guys.
I like that. We're diversifying.
I think that
All right, let's give him a job interview quick.
Yeah, anyway, so this summer, last summer I had an internship with I guess it'd be warm water fish hatchery for the state of New Jersey for school. That consisted of 16 weeks of working to fulfill 15 credits worth of schoolwork, so it was definitely worth it last summer. And then I decided to go back this year because, in this discipline or whatever you want to call it, the only way to get yourself in is to make connections, put your time in, even if you're not making the greatest of money.
Especially within the state.
Yes, especially within the division
Yeah.
and whatnot. And you can see I'm wearing my division shirt because I came right from work today, even though I only had a half day, but I've been here all day.
Yeah, I'm just going to wear this around the rest of the day.
So this summer I worked at the fish hatchery again. It was really good. I enjoy working there. Good hours. The pay, like I said, it's not great. But today was my last day. I go back to school. I go to school at Sony Cobleskill, studying wildlife management.
So if you want to find Brandon, that's where you're going to find him.
Yep.
Unless
So-
it's on between Friday and Sunday, you'll probably find them within 15 miles.
You'll
of where
find
we
him
are now.
standing in a deli, him and Caleb with face paint on.
So yes, this is my last semester, and I don't really have any set in stone plans as of right now. I've always wanted to be a game warden, so we'll see if that pans out. No guarantees on that. That's kind of few and far between. But Caleb and I have talked before, if they do really get wetland reclamation and all that kind of work going, to potentially be a biologist or quote unquote a biologist, because now it seems like if you want to be a biologist, you need a master's degree, which I will not be obtaining in the near future.
Yeah, that was something that they didn't preface me in when I went to school either.
Yeah.
Was that like the first 4 years don't really count?
Yeah, it's the next 6 that really matter
that
if you
really
want to
matter.
get somewhere and make a lot of money. But we'll see what happens. Open to options.
The good
Any
news
companies
is
looking to hire, just comment on this video.
I
Yeah.
tried giving you a job interview. You didn't want it.
the pay wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
The pay probably would not be as good as the state.
He already volunteers for the state. Yeah.
I volunteer for this, so
Yeah.
The good thing that we got going is that you're a biologist. I'm a biologist. Well, a few credits short of being a biologist. I got a few credits left in school. That's
Caleb's
the long
like
story.
1/2 credit short of being a
And my wife,
doctorate.
she's almost wrapped up her biology degree.
That's
So,
what she went to school for?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
So
Yeah.
in general, though, you can see, and this is on a serious note, you can see the level of,
Smarticles.
no, not even,
No, definitely not that.
not boasting smartness, but basically saying how much conservation and like the fact of conserving wetlands and making habitat better. Like, we're not just doing it because it's fun. Like, we're doing it because we genuinely care.
Yeah, I feel as though it's ingrained into you, and especially if your faith aligns with ours, and you go back to Genesis 1:28, it's set out pretty straight,
Set in stone right
straightforward.
there.
Yeah, you're called to take care of it and
Manage
do a
it.
job at it. So I mean, when it comes to that side of the hunting and fishing, for me, like I've said many times, sometimes I just enjoy seeing the ducks or watching the deer as I actually do hunting for them. Hunting is a special opportunity that we're granted, but being able to take care of them and make sure that they are sustainable resources.
Healthy, have food, and doing all
Yeah.
stuff like that. Yep.
Yeah, which the avian influenza thing, that's a worrisome.
Yeah,
topic
that
we
is
got right now.
worrisome, especially a little fun fact, I guess. Today at work,
Or not so fun, rather.
yeah, not so fun, but it can be said. It's not like classified or anything, but today at work we found some dead vultures and whatnot, and we ended up going and counting, and as of 10:30 this morning, we found 71 dead ones, and
Dead vultures?
dead vultures. Yeah,
I thought it was because they found a body.
no.
Oh,
This
I must
was-
have heard something else.
This was where I was working. We noticed a smell, and we went scavenging a little bit, and I think vultures are
I see what you did there. You went scavenging.
scavenging, just like the vultures are, and that's where my next point is going. Is the vultures are eating each other and spreading it like wildfire. There's a couple different cases throughout the state, but yeah, the avian influenza is worrisome. But
Hold on. What all types of birds does that affect?
I think it affects every kind of bird. I know in the spring it was more of like migrating songbirds that were coming back from the tropics.
That's something that
Because-
they're actually trying to figure out, because I'm under the impression that there's many strains of the avian influenza.
Just like many strains of every other sickness known
So
to
like
man.
some are going to really affect, certain genetics of birds rather than others. And also the way that it's transmitted can really affect, birds other than others. The one that's a big worry mainly to the United States in agriculture is where it starts to affect commercial production of chickens and turkeys, poultry business. So when they get those cases where like a hawk gets it and then the hawk is in the chickens or however it goes,
I think it affects scavengers.
they have to kill every single chicken. Like if they have a chicken house with 1,000 chickens in there, every one of them gets killed if one tests positive. So
Yeah,
like,
and-
it's a huge hit on their commerce. But yeah.
But
We'll have to see how that plays out.
it's not combating anything, but this is kind of another point is, Caleb set out this year to do everything he could to really attract birds in a way as much as we can here, because unlike other parts of the country, we can't grow grains such as
Yeah.
I mean,
Our land is either rocky and hilly or wet and low. So
And you
anytime
can't-
you're trying to grow wet and low,
In
unless
rocky
it's
and
perfect,
hilly.
yeah, unless it's perfect weather conditions, you're doomed either direction. So where a lot of guys are able to cultivate an agricultural crop in a scenario that's in an agricultural field and then flood it to allow for the waterfowl to enjoy it. Well, often we don't.
It's
we
tough
don't
in
get
all
that.
areas like
Yeah,
that.
we
Yeah,
don't
we
have
don't-
that type of.
We don't get that opportunity.
Yeah.
No, so I mean, I don't know if you want to go into this or whatnot, but like, what'd you plant this year
Okay.
for
so-
ducks specifically?
Yeah, and you guys are going to be able to reap the benefit of this if everything works out, I think.
Sweet.
No, basically, there's multiple different kinds of crops that you can plant. You can plant native plants. You can basically do what's called moist soil management, which is basically the draining or the drying down of seasonal wetlands, and then the disturbance in it. Either it's done by fire or disking or both, which brings up seeds that are in the seed bank, which are basically hidden under the soil, and allows them to grow. So those are going to be more of your native weeds, smart weeds, stuff like that. Or if you have an area that dries down in the summertime, where you can plant a plant like a millet in, and it creates a small grain, and then once that grows like a piece of grass and has a grain head, when it floods again in the fall or the winter, then the birds can eat it. So we've done some of both of those things. On top of that, we also are cultivating rice, which I don't know if rice has been grown in New Jersey before or not.
I've seen it. Actually, that was in New York.
Yeah. I know it's not obviously an ag crop because it's a 120-day crop, so our growing window is so tight. So this year we had to wait until it was dry enough to be able to break the top of the soil and get that weed layer off to be able to sow the rice. So we soaked the rice in a wheelbarrow for 2 days out in the sun, and literally it turns and you get just a little bitty green that pokes its head out, and that's like, I guess, the root. So then you go out and throw this on the bare ground and pray that the doves don't eat it all and wait for it to grow. And it can be flooded once it comes up, and it'll grow in the water. It keeps the weeds out, but the area that it's in is basically just waiting for rain. It hasn't rained here since the middle of June. We had our first rain shower, 2 days ago?
Yeah, and
days
it was
ago?
Monday.
pretty scarce. It was a half inch here, an inch there,
Yeah.
depending on what
And I
part
mean,
of the county
it-
you're
it
it's
in.
barely knocked the dust off.
Yeah, it soaked in the first inch and a half of the soil, and
Right.
that was about it.
Right. So the rice we planted on June 6th. It's due to head out on like October 6th, which is when if it's going to produce a head, will.
I'm curious to see if, since we've had such a dry summer and we're seeing signs of early fall coming in with deer that are already shedding velvet. Right now it's the middle of August. We've got deer coming out of velvet, which is super uncommon for our area. As far as like typically, I would say mid to end of September is usually when our deer are starting to shed velvet. And this is also like not just our state. This is in the Midwest and stuff too. We've had reports of deer hard-horned already. So we're thinking maybe that has part of the drought. But I'm curious to see if this fall and winter, we have a very wet.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm curious to see if that's how it's
the
going to play
old timers always said that winter will never come until the swamps are full. So that means even if summer drags its feet on, winter won't show up until those swamps fill up. So you can bet we're probably going to get hammered with a couple hurricanes or something. Although my dad was telling me about there's a dust storm from Africa that like close down our chance of a hurricane this fall. I don't know if you just read that as clickbait or what, but
Hook, line, and sinker.
yeah. So I don't know that, but we definitely hope that we get some water the beginning of October, end of September.
I mean, we need like 10 inches of rain.
Yeah, I mean, we could handle like 2 5-inch hurricanes in back-to-back weeks and probably be all right. But really, we need slow rain to penetrate the soil.
Mm-hmm. We don't need that flooding rain right now.
Otherwise, we're going to get flooded out bad because it's going to just all run off, not soak in. So
I think the interesting part with, I've helped Caleb with quite a bit of different crop growing this year, and I think the most interesting thing is actually looking at the crops now and seeing which ones were successful and which ones were not. Like, I know we have some corn right now, not for ducks or anything, but just corn. And it's in a spot right now that it's probably 8.5 foot tall compared to the rest of the county has corn that's like 4 foot tall.
yeah.
So we're feeling pretty good about that one. But in a normal year where we have our normal rains, that probably would be the exact opposite. This corn probably wouldn't have even, the ground wouldn't have been dry enough for it to even germinate or anything. And then in other areas, it'll be nice to know if we do have a drought, we have options. If we're not in a drought, we have a normal year or a wet year even, we still have options. Like, that's the cool thing for me, is knowing either way, trying this on a drought year to begin with will be okay. Like, I think
and
that's
after
the
last year was the first year being able to plant some things for the ducks, and found out really quick that you have to pay more attention to your weather time frames than I ever could have imagined. I mean, like, off by 2 days in one direction and something gets flooded out too quick or is too dry when you seed it, and it was a waste. It's like such a game. Yeah. So we're really running the gauntlet with the rice, hoping that we don't get a frost before October 6th, so that way it comes up good. But if it does, it'll be awesome. If it doesn't, it'll at least be a grass in the woods that once it does get wet, it'll break down and cause a detritus, which is you're basically going to see an invertebrate and bug response because there is all that nutrients like breaking down in the water. So you think about like an oak tree leaf. It's like covered in like a waxy coating. When oak tree leaves fall in water, they don't really break down that quick, right? Like you see them in the bottom of ponds, they're built up deep. And that's not going to have a very good response from the wildlife. But you take something like a thin grass leaf or like a willow tree that grows historically by water. When that falls into the water, that leaf breaks down and basically causes bugs to respond, and then bigger bugs eat them, and then
the food chain.
Yeah, ducks eat those bigger bugs.
Or the animal chain.
Right.
Yeah,
so
people don't realize how much of invertebrates play a huge role, and it's forgotten on every level. Like, fish eat invertebrates, and that like little fingerlings eat invertebrates, whatnot. But like the duck's biggest thing, basically, when it gets cold, they go to carbohydrates for energy to get to migration, but after that, like before they nest, their number one thing they're looking for is protein and calcium, and invertebrates give that. Snails, they get calcium from snails plus protein. They get both. So it's like people don't realize how important invertebrates are. And even by just getting water on soil to break down, even if it's minimal amount of detritus or whatnot, getting that water on there to just activate it a little bit. And there is studies done where if you put water on it for 2 weeks, take water off it for 2 weeks, put water on it for 2 weeks, the invertebrates, and I don't know if it's 2 weeks or whatnot, but just a time period. If you do that, the invertebrates will actually explode in response that much more the second time you put water on it because of taking the water off. Basically, they go into repopulation mode very quickly. So it's a good thing that's overlooked, I feel like.
Right. I mean, you look at something as simple as that knowledge that he's saying about the snails, right? So a lot of times I think what happens to guys, they get so caught up in oh, we're going to hunt in the swamp. We're going to hunt in the swamp, whatever, right? Well, what's this swamp have in it? It has cattails. Right. Well, cattails pose absolutely probably zero food to ducks. Maybe there's some bugs hiding in them. That's it.
There's cover.
That's
cover.
All they. It's nesting habitat.
Yes.
It's not. The young ducklings can hide in it. Other than that, it's not good. Same thing with your invasive phragmites, your big tall grasses, lily pads. Lily pads are useless to ducks. They might have some bugs on them, but they're not doing anything for them. Then you get into there's we call it buckbrush that's in the swamps. Mm-hmm. The one place that we hunt there historically has that buckbrush. A lot of it is actually what is more formally called button bush, and it has these little balls on it, and the balls have little tiny seeds in them. And it's a shrub that can live in the water, but those seeds are edible by the ducks, and the ducks will eat them, especially the wood ducks early season. But for the footprint that they take up in the swamp, they don't produce a lot of food. A lot of times you're actually hunting in just a loaf area, a place that the ducks are going to hang out. Now you take information about the snails. If you know that a hen mallard needs to eat those snails to get that calcium, right? Because that's the only way that she can produce an egg. So when they go up north, there's no calcium. So they have to take it all with them from the wintering grounds. So you can use that logic and say, man, if I'm going to be hunting somewhere late season and going into January, I should be looking for a place that could have snails, big water bugs, stuff that's going to have a hard shell on it, because I'm probably going to find the ducks there. And that's why you'll see them in the rivers. They're going after food that. Which is fascinating.
Interesting.
I think we're tying into one of the questions that I wanted to ask you too is, for our newer and younger hunters who are just getting into waterfowl, maybe trying to learn more, what are the most important things that they should be looking for in the areas that they're hunting, in the beginning, in the middle, and the end? What does that transition look like? What should they be trying to find?
Yeah, Brandon, you want to go first on that?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. So are you asking let's say October versus December versus...
Yeah.
I think he's talking early, mid, and late season hunting.
Yeah. If I'm a new hunter, what do I want to look for in the swamp or the area that I'm going to hunt ducks in?
Yeah, so we're talking opening morning in October. Say we're in the same region. Opening morning in October, we're talking Thanksgiving and late January freeze up.
Sure, yeah.
Brandon, you shoot.
All right.
Don't miss.
For me, October would probably be, and it depends on what your goal is. So my goal in October is to shoot as few hens as possible, okay, if any. And the reason behind that is because of the fact that hen ducks, mallards, wood ducks, every kind of duck will return to the same swamp or wherever that it's born. Year after year, they will return back to where they were born.
They call that phallic nesters.
Yeah, I've heard the term before, but it didn't stick. But anyway, so the goal is to kill as few hens as possible. The drakes that you're killing are most likely not from your area because they follow hens back and they get all dispersed throughout the flyways or whatnot. I feel like you almost have to look for a local breeding ground, and it depends on what ducks you're looking for. We don't get a huge push of mallards here until middle to end of November. So opening weekend, we're looking for wood ducks. And so I think as
the 4-letter word, teal.
Yeah, the teal too.
They can make a bad day good real quick.
Yeah, when 30 of them come swooping in out of nowhere. Yeah, I'm probably looking for thicker marshes with nesting habitat basically, and then just don't shoot the hens. Whatever you do, that's
if you see wood duck boxes,
that's probably a good place to hunt.
You're probably in the right ballpark because you're probably either in a Ducks Unlimited project or somebody
that cares.
Somebody that cared anything. That hung wood duck boxes.
There's nothing real specific I'm looking for in October, especially here because we only get a season for the opening week. So it's kind of get your feet wet, sprinkle out some kinks, and be ready for when that first day. Even in
a drought season like this year with a wood duck, it doesn't matter as much because A wood duck will go in a puddle in the woods and eat acorns out of it.
Yes.
So you could be hunting in a hole the size of this room and shoot a strap of wood ducks. But the biggest thing is for a new hunter is, like I have said before, to go and look before you hunt. Just like deer hunting, you don't just walk out there one morning, hang your stand up. Well, maybe we did when we were kids.
Somebody did. Some people do. Hanging
Yeah.
out into a new area. I did that.
Yeah,
But you're
anytime
you're
I ever
scouting
did that,
at the same time as
Right,
that.
you're
I might
scouting.
I
You
might
have-
be doing some e-scouting before.
Yeah,
So don't set your I guess that's what I should rephrase. Don't set your expectations up here when your homework has been like down here. You know, if you're
That's a really good point.
Yeah,
And
if your homework was really high, then yeah, by all means, you know, if you had good homework, you're thinking, man, this is gonna be really good.
Yeah,
And
if you
a lot
know
of
where
times,
birds are,
not.
then you get your hopes up. Like, no doubt about that. And
Right.
it's the same thing with everything. You have to put in the time and scout. Like, I think this is something that we do really good is when Canada geese show up thick, we know exactly what field they're hitting at what time, and
we know their roost. That's the important
Yes.
part. We don't hunt their roost, but we know their roost.
yeah, we don't hunt the roost. Actually, that's a good point.
Right.
And yeah, I guess with ducks, it's just you have to scout just like any other kind of game you're going to go and hunt. And I don't know, October's pretty unpredictable. It could be
Yeah.
really good or it
Something
could be
else
awful.
that you got to throw in there is pressure. And just opening weekends are renowned for lots of pressure. So you may have your special spot picked. You did your homework. Your expectations are up here. But what you didn't know is that for the last 25 years, there has been 20 guys getting to this location at 2 a.m. And deer hunters go hard, but duck hunters that really want to go duck hunting and be successful don't follow their clock in terms of, oh yeah, I'll get there at like, you know, an hour before. No, it's like I'll get there a night before. Camp out in the parking
We're
lot.
camping out,
Right.
You know, for our spot at the.
Like cooking dinner and breakfast when you
Yeah.
get there. So yeah, when it comes to the first weekends, that's definitely something I think you need to be aware of. And maybe it's important before we go on to the next part of the season is to delineate between a roost, a loaf, and a feeding grounds. So the place that the ducks are going to be roosting is going to be where they're returning to every night to basically sleep on the water.
Usually a bigger body of
Usually
water.
a bigger body of
reservoir,
water, right.
Can be big rivers, big lakes, but normally it's your biggest body of water in the area.
And unless, now this depends on what type of waterfowl you're hunting for, but unless you have really bad weather that's bringing your light conditions down early, you probably won't see those ducks back to the roost before shooting time goes out. And that's a big mistake that's made often. And we've even made that mistake in recent years where we thought, hey, you know what? This looks good. Like there's ducks here, but hey, maybe we didn't get out to be able to scout that until after work one night. And we were like, oh yeah, this is going to be good. Like we'll come here in the morning. And you get there in the morning and they all fly away and then you don't see any traffic, you know?
Yeah, it's
so
a ghost town.
Yeah, so that's the roof. They're the roost. Then you have the loaf, which can also be the roost at the same time. A loaf is going to be a place that the ducks are going to go out to. They're going to basically hang out. So they might hang out there in the morning. They might hang out there in the afternoon. It all depends on the weather.
Typically, like a time where it's like let's say they get off the roost in the morning.
Yep.
They then go to feed.
Right.
Then they leave the feed to hang out for a little while.
Yep.
Which would be the loaf.
It's normally your secondary bodies of water, smaller ponds, farm ponds, smaller rivers, creeks.
I'm not saying that they're not going to be eating there.
Yeah,
but they're
I was just gonna say that. Like
not
that,
power feeding.
Yes.
Yeah, it's easier to see in the geese, I think, than it is in the ducks. The geese are often, we are going to eat breakfast. Okay, now we're going to eat dinner, but in between, during lunchtime, we're going to go hang out back at the roost where we spent the night.
Yeah,
or maybe
and
a different body of water.
A little tip for, any goose hunters is I think you're going to find the feed and the loaf pretty close to each other.
Yeah, pretty consistent. A lot of times the same place.
Yeah. Like
So-
if there's a cornfield next to a pond, that's probably the feed and the loaf all in one.
Yeah.
If there's birds there. I mean, not every cornfield you drive past is a goose feed.
And if on
there's no
Saturday
birds
you
there.
want to hunt in awesome cornfield that there's been thousands of geese in every day of the week. It's Thursday today, okay? On Saturday, you're going to hunt there. On Friday, don't go hunt the largest, biggest body of water right there on Friday night, because that's where those geese are sleeping.
Yeah.
And you are going to destroy your hunt on Saturday and not know why.
The general rule I hear in podcasts about, do you hunt roosts or do you not, is kind of a moral thing, but at the same time, if
It depends how hungry you are, I think.
Yeah, how hungry you are for killing birds, I guess, in a sense too, even. But they say if it's last day of the season and nobody else is hunting, go for it. If that's what you're into, go for it. But if you want a lot of people to be pissed off at you during season and they know that you're hunting a roost, that's a really good way to get everybody to hate you.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's a couple bodies of water around here that are historically roosts where, we probably could get permission on them, and we probably could shoot them pretty good on a really rainy, dark day, but we probably shouldn't do that. We'll kill them in the cornfields coming. Let's move on to the next part of the season.
Yeah, do you want to take November or what?
Yeah, sure. Why don't we ask Tyler? What does Tyler think that we should look for in November?
Will, you know what I'm going to say.
Let's get into the meat of it.
I'm kind of curious, actually.
What am I going to say for November? I don't know. I'm not the duck expert.
Tyler's going to say he's going to call me or Brandon.
I'm going to phone a friend
Yeah.
on that one.
So we're talking about we're getting our first mallard push now.
Yeah,
Stuff like
okay,
that.
so the temperatures are dropping, nighttime is just above freezing. Daytime is topping out 50 on your warmest days.
Tyler, this is the
It's
simplified
sweatshirt
version.
and vest weather.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Simplified version.
That's when it's starting to get good.
Cold temperatures, north wind, kill ducks.
I'm thinking so they're at this point of the season.
He's like, I'm thinking I'm going to get the camera and call them and see where they're going.
At this point of the season, we're looking at fresh birds coming in. So I would be focusing on probably the river, some of the smaller rivers, stuff like that. And maybe some types of, I don't know, it's kind of hard for me. I would say it's kind of the same as the early season. I guess you'd be focusing more on maybe cornfields and different things like that. Soybean fields, if they're going to be starting to get combined, stuff like that maybe. But it's hard around here. There's not really a ton of dry fields.
Right, and there's the differentiation that we need to make here for New Jersey is a lot of times your early season hunt might be the same location right. That's what you're kind of getting to. Is it's not like we have so many options that you can be like, well, I'm only going to hunt there in November,
Yeah. Or it's not like here geese are everywhere. We can find them. As far as seeing ducks in a dry field,
very rare.
that's very rare for our area.
Yeah.
Unless for whatever reason you have a flooded cornfield.
If
Right.
if it's wet and we do have some flooded corn, stuff like that, I would definitely be focusing on areas like that.
No,
I don't think we've seen that. I mean, I've never hunted a flooded,
No.
I will
flooded
say
standing corn in New Jersey.
now
I've never
that's
hunted
something that should be mentioned, is that when hunting fields like that, for our viewers to know, per federal regulations, okay, you can hunt an agriculturally harvested field, all right, that's flooded. But if the farmer decided they couldn't get a crop off that field for whatever reason, say it was too wet when they needed to combine, it didn't work out. So they're like, we're just going to brush hog it. I don't know why they did that, but that's what they did. And then it flooded. It was river bottom. It flooded, right? You can't hunt it.
Really?
It's considered baiting.
It's considered baiting.
Yeah, because you could just be like, oh, I'm going to plant this field and then
brush
Right.
hog it.
Brush hog it
exactly.
later.
Even to the
So-
point where we're talking the crops that we're growing, if they're an agricultural crop,
Which
like-
rice is.
which rice is, if I was to go in there, okay, and drive through it when it had a head on it with a side by side, a motorcycle, my bicycle, whatever, it is considered baiting because you're laying down that crop. Now, if the water just floods up on it naturally and you never touch it, you walk right to your blind, you get in your blind, the dog goes out, gets the birds, comes back, it's not baiting. That's per federal regulations. Now, is a game warden going to really bust your chops if there's another trail through the rice where you went to go walk to pick something up? Probably not. But if you went and stomped it all down to make it really easily accessible, then it's baiting.
Yeah. I guess to close my point out, I would say another area in this November push where you're getting cold fronts and birds are moving down would be, I guess it depends on the year also, but I wouldn't overlook, like we're talking about flooded cornfields and different things like that. I wouldn't overlook puddles in fields.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, an acre or less.
Even on your warm days, puddles and
Yeah.
hay fields.
Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't overlook like the size of this room, 20 by 20, stuff like that. Sometimes there can be
Geese and ducks.
geese and ducks.
Yeah.
And then maybe even types of farm ponds and stuff like that can be really good as like a loafing area for that time frame.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say that you're pretty spot on with that. The one thing that I would add, going off of the flooded idea, is you might have a marsh that you typically hunt in October and say it's a dry early fall, right? And you're like, it was decent. I'm not going to go back and check it out in November. Well, it rained a ton in between there. Turns out that marsh flooded out like 2 feet out into the woods. Well, now we have a whole different scenario because now there's food on the ground in form of acorns or whatever, and it's out there. Same thing with rivers. If a river's flooding its banks and you have a way to either boat or walk in to look at some of that stuff, definitely check it out.
That's kind of where I was saying, like,
when ducks are flying over really high, migrating, and they see water just, everywheres, that's going to kind of get their attention. So that's a really good point.
I would say during this time frame, late October, early November of last year, I had trail cameras on some river bottom and probably within 100 yards of the river bank, and the river had blown out, flooded over the banks, and
Wash your trail cameras away?
no, I had my trail cams up high, but the water came up a lot, and there were wood ducks swimming around in front of my trail camera 100 yards off the riverbank.
Yep.
Standing on sticks and swimming around and different things.
Yeah, and what it does is it spreads the birds out. So it can make it more difficult too, but depending on your access points and everything, it can be a good opportunity.
I think we'll move on to the late season, but I think as a closing point for the middle of the season is if the temperatures are getting colder, you're having north winds, birds are moving down, I think you have to start thinking very hard about hunting food more than anything else.
That's a great point, yeah.
Not just going to the local marsh and sitting in the cattails. Like
you got to go
look
out
for
and
something
find
that produces food.
Yes.
For geese, it's going to be a cornfield. For ducks, what's your local terrain offer? It's no secret that a Canada goose, when it's cold out, wants corn. When it's warm out, it's just content going in the grass and picking up grass and bugs and whatever else they're eating.
Yeah.
Cool.
So
all right, late season. Now I want to hear what Willie has to say.
All right.
Will, you're in the hot seat.
Yeah, don't screw this up, Will.
So I think for the late season, first and foremost, everyone here can probably agree, open water is the biggest key. I feel like when trying to find birds. In my fairly short waterfowl career, I would say open water.
It's about to get much longer, man.
I know. My fairly short waterfowl
It's a
career.
drug that you cannot get broke from.
I know.
yeah.
I would say open water with very little other open water around it typically is very popular for the waterfowl.
You're talking about
late
like
season.
freeze over, like
Yeah.
ice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're talking like
Hard
New
freeze.
Year's.
Yeah.
Like, locked up.
Yeah. So anywhere you can find a body of water that's open for whatever reason that doesn't have very many other open bodies of water around it,
Yeah.
that's usually a pretty good spot.
So AKA call Caleb because he's got a nice ripper and
Yeah.
Oh,
Whether
yeah.
or not it's open naturally or you open it, that's another story. But
Right.
yeah, but
That's actually a really good point to make. I honestly forgot about that thing.
At the
Thanks
end
for
of the-
reminding me. That really gets me excited. You know that?
at the end of
Man, I
the day,
love
though,
that
that's
thing.
just another tool that you have in that tool belt of tools for hunting, I guess you could say.
tips and tricks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
tips and tricks for hunting.
I think we might have to acquire another one of those this year. And we really need to get a noob into the group so that the
The noob just wants to spend
Yeah, there you go.
ton of money on
no, even better.
What's the price of an ice ripper?
No, we're gonna get the sponsorship right now.
$600.
Who do we want it from?
J2 Outdoors.
All right, J2 Outdoors. Listen.
Listen, go check out this.
Listen.
Go check out these guys' video from February of last year, and where we killed 50 geese by 9:30 in the morning.
We had it eating 8 inches of ice. I mean, the ice was thick enough you could drive a Jeep across the top of it. And we were goose hunting in it because of the ice ripper and what I was getting at saying with the noob. We need somebody to keep putting gas in the generator.
There you go.
Yeah, that was me last year.
Buying the gas isn't the issue. Getting it from the tank to wherever the generator is in 2 feet of snow seems to be the issue.
Yes, last year, before that, the 2 weeks leading up to that hunt, I was kind of in charge of that, but no big deal. I was using
Thank goodness for Brandon's locality to the area that we were trying to keep the water open in.
Yeah. I was using a sled to sled down the hill to the pond, and there was multiple times where I just came up back a bloody mess from all the ice.
You would think, Caleb, was there snow on the ground?
It was not. There was snow underneath,
like
but it was
sleet
like
with ice on
2
it.
inches of ice on top
I was
of
gonna
the snow.
say, you would think this friend of yours with a snowmobile would let you borrow it for a little while, but
Snowmobile would have. I probably would have died on that thing because it
Alright,
was so
take it back.
slippery. But no, anyway, yes, Will, you're right. Find open water, make open water, do whatever you can to have open water if it is a hard freeze.
Yeah. I mean, and sometimes I've had late seasons where it doesn't really get that cold. And you totally miss the boat on it. And
It's just one of those off years.
right. And that can make it really difficult because at that point, you probably have water everywhere as there could be water. And the birds maybe have been around for a little while. They kind of know what's going on. And it makes them hard to hunt. But you can get on like small streams and just traffic them where they're like using that to, fly up and down that and navigate around. Or find the loaf where they go in and hang out 10:30 in the morning because maybe it's a little warmer, the sun hits there. Same thing with if it is a hard freeze, maybe the spot you would normally hunt early in the morning is sheet ice. Sheet ice is if you don't have an ice ripper or it's not accessible, it's on state property or something, you're not going to kill very many ducks in sheet ice because your decoys are just going to look like tip-ups sitting out there,
Yeah.
So, but that could be a place that at 10:30 you come back, the sun hit it, and there's a hole the size of this room out there. But that brings into another danger with the dogs and stuff you need to take into consideration for sure. It's definitely way more dangerous hunting later in the season, physically harming to you or your dog.
Do you think that I think in a way I kind of hope we get that hard freeze because we have access.
I definitely hope so.
Like
I pray that after New Year's, it just
the
locks.
last 10 days of the season, there's no water open whatsoever.
Because for
Everything
one,
is-
that separates the men from the boys.
There you go.
yeah, there's not many.
So
I
we're
knew
going
it
to
was
find out.
coming.
Tyler and
I knew
Will
it was
over here are doing a lot of talking, but we're going to find out here.
I told you I just got a second buddy heater. I am ready to go.
Ready? We're going to have to put it on the generator to keep the generator running. That was the problem last year. It was making all kinds of funny noises. It was so cold. I think the oil was frozen inside of it.
Oh,
Yeah, the
man.
generator was so cold. I would take the top of the gas off, and the gasket would be frozen and just cripple.
Yeah, every other day he'd call me, the hose broke. It's frozen. The seal broke. The gas cap broke. I'm like, at this point, we need a solar panel.
Yeah,
But
yes, late season.
and the river, we've had some amazing late season hunts on the river. I mean, the only pintail that I've ever shot in New Jersey came on the river in the last part of our season there, the second week of January. And often there'll be icebergs the size of this table, like floating down the river.
Again, dangerous. Like
Dangerous.
Late
Little gnarly.
season. Late season is definitely
Maybe you leave the
dangerous.
dog at home
Yes.
and come prepared. Often we actually, this is interesting, when we go and hunt river systems out of the boat, even if we're getting out on dry land instead of layouts or A-frames, whatever, we actually a lot of times won't wear waders if the water is like that cold. Because at that point, you figure, okay, we can get in the boat and retrieve our birds that we shoot. Yeah, it's a hassle, But if we make one foul swoop in this river and it catches up on our waders, wader belt or not, regardless, you're so cold and you can't get the water off you fast enough.
Well, you're fighting a whole. There's a current there. Which
There's
is
a swift current, right? That's the only reason the water's open. The coldest I ever hunted was 14 below, and I kid you not, I had my waders on in the morning. I looked out there and I said, if I fall in, I'm not going to even be able to move to get out. So we wore muck boots. We stayed in the boat the whole time. We never left the boat. We had our life jackets on, and everything we did functions within the boat. So as long as the motor's working or the paddles are still on the side of it, you're good.
I guess kind of to take this for a turn, I did want to touch on before we wrap this up what kind of ammo everybody is shooting this year.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Well, let's
hear from Will on this.
say what gun you're shooting. I know it's not your SX4, but say what gun you're shooting.
Oh yeah, say your
SX4.
gun, why you like it, and what's your ammo choice this year.
Gun choke, why you like it, and ammo choice.
Oh yeah.
All right, I'll be shooting an SX4 Winchester
Yeah, right.
with a
Yeah,
backup
right.
with a backup Stoger and
3,000,
pump action, whatever it is.
3,500.
That's just in case it gets a little too gnarly out there. I have a Kicks High Flyer choke. I think it's a full, and
Which I don't think has been out in any type of waterfowl hunting ever.
Tyler might be right on that one actually. And I think I have Black Cloud going this year, but I have a couple different
hold on.
cases.
Are you shooting? What are you shooting for ducks, and what are you shooting for geese?
Oh, I've always been pretty simple BB for geese, and then ducks. Lately in seasons past, it's been number 2, but the more I talk with the gang here, I think it might be time to move down in shot size.
Mm-hmm. 4s.
Yeah, I feel like that's the move. I don't know.
Yes. So I guess you want me to go?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So I shoot a Mossberg 930. I won at a Ducks Unlimited banquet. Before that, I was shooting
Perfect.
a Remington 870.
Classic.
The old paddle gun.
No shame there.
Shoot ducks with it.
If you can't
Use
hit
it
him,
as a
you just
boat
beat him
paddle.
over the head with it.
The Mossberg's a good gun. Hasn't failed me yet.
That's because you only had it 1 year.
Are there any more guns in your near future, or what's the deal with that?
Yeah.
Super Black Eagle.
Ooh, once you go Benelli, you never come back.
Yeah.
And you'll always have that infamous click when the banded goose looms over your head.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd like to get another gun. I mean, Browning Max 2 is like dream gun, but that's a lot of money.
What's like if you were to go buy a gun tomorrow that you could afford to go get, what would it be?
Winchester SX4?
I'm telling you can't go wrong with that gun.
No,
You can't.
No, I've seen Caleb do a lot of shit with. I mean, spoiling his, but I've seen Caleb do a lot of shit with that gun, and it shoots every single time. So like,
I don't know
Yeah.
why it even decides to participate.
Yeah.
If I was that gun, I would call it quits a year ago.
yeah. So Mossberg 930, I have Carlson Cremator 3-pack chokes. I usually try and shoot the full choke because it patterns. When I patterned it, it patterned more like a mod out of that gun for whatever reason. But it shoots good. It kills birds. And then ammo ducks this year, I will be shooting Boss number 3s, going with a little bit heavier shell. Yeah, I've heard good things about it.
3-inch
Yeah, 3-inch number 3s.
or 2 3/4.
No, 3-inch.
Okay.
For geese, I have thought about shooting the number 3s also. The reviews I've read said people shoot ducks and geese with them too. I don't know. I might shoot geese with the Boss shells. I have 60 shells of Federal TSS left from last year, so I might shoot ducks with that. I got a couple boxes of Super X's. I might throw out some wood ducks early season just to get rid of them. And I have Black Cloud, Fiocchi, all in BB for geese. So I have some options. Kind of depends on how many birds I want to kill or how much ammo I want to waste in a day.
Yeah.
I try and save that BB stuff for snow geese. I got it all last year when we had a big push of snow geese. But
Tyler, let's
Nice.
hear it.
I'm shooting new to me last year, Winchester SX4 as well. And for my choke, I have a 2-pack of Carlson Cremator, the mid and long range. It's the ported choke. I really like them. I've had great success patterning and different things like that. I do.
Is that what you had in last year when you shot the bird on camera with your one arm?
I'm pretty sure I had that gun. Yeah.
That was pretty
Yeah,
stellar.
last year
I
I
gotta
shot
say
that
that
gun.
was
Yeah,
pretty
yeah.
stellar.
So
The whole morning, Tyler's like, I can't hit nothing. Next
I'll
thing you know,
shooting, Super X's, man.
they're like blanks.
Yeah, I know. Well, I mean,
Bounce off,
come
bounce
on.
off.
I mean, there has been plenty of times we have shot rounds
hundreds.
and nothing, like 3 pellets at the ground. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
I swear, I don't know how that happens or not. Maybe my gun shoots upside down. I don't know.
And everybody's got like powder in their eyes, and they're like, "Man, I can't see shit out of this thing."
But anyways, for geese, I have a Black Cloud number 2's 3-inch, and then I also just purchased the box of Heavy Hammer 3-inch number 4's for ducks. And then on top of that, I have an assortment of a lot of different rounds I need to shoot before I shoot any of the nice stuff. So that ranges from heavy steel to the older Black Cloud before they rebranded and changed everything. I have probably 6 boxes of that in BB. And then I've just, I don't know. I've got a whole bunch of, I've got some Browning shells and all different types of stuff. So I'll be shooting an assortment until I run out of that.
Cool.
Caleb,
All
take
right.
her home.
All right. I've got an SX4 as well with a 26-inch barrel.
You like the 26-incher?
I liked the price on it. I looked when I was in school. I needed a gun on a budget, but I needed something reliable. I grew up shooting my dad's 1187,
I remember that.
which I love that gun still to this day. It's stout, it's heavy, but I hate to beat it up and put it through the torture that it goes through. But I found this gun on Gunbroker, actually. And it was a gun that a guy used for a season. He's like, I think I'm going to buy a Browning, so I don't need it anymore. And at that time, it was like $600. So I was like, all right, I'll scrape my pennies together. And I bought it. And the thing just keeps coming back for more. So I love it for that fact. If I was to go buy one off the shelf, I probably would have bought a 28 just because of the added benefit of the 2 inches for goose hunt and whatnot. But seeing how the 26 performs, excuse me, I gotta lay off the cigs. Seeing how the 26 performs, I don't know that you could talk me into one very easily. Going with the 28. I will say that I know from swinging, not to get too in depth in the guns, but from swinging a 26-inch gun like through the woods, and then picking up Chris has a 28-inch gun and swinging that, it's like totally different. Like you couldn't go from just shooting one to shooting the other without a little catch-up time.
For those that believe that 2 inches doesn't matter, it really does.
You see, I agree with what everyone's saying. And for one season, I did use it was a Browning Silver Hunter. It was a 26-inch barrel. For whatever reason, I shot that gun really good.
Yeah.
I was convinced I'm buying a 26-inch barrel. I never did after that, but it wasn't my gun. I was just using it, and I don't know. It did shoot really good. Maybe it was just a good year for me. I don't know.
Well, yeah. I mean, in your brain, you think, 28-inch barrel, like that's got to be better. It's got to reach longer. Like it's going to keep my shot together longer. Does it really matter? I guess we'd have to put that to the test.
It depends on what
Maybe
you're
that would
killing
be a
birds
good
with
video
more.
to try one time. But I do like the 26-inch gun. It's been great. It's been water inside and out. The only one time that it did fail me was not the gun's fault at all. It went in the water multiple times, went in its case, in the water, in the case, and you were hunting every day. It's pouring down rain. And then it was in its case, and it was still damp in there. I dried it out, the night before. But I guess the boat ride in somehow got wet. And it was freezing cold when we got to the spot. Then obviously below freezing. and that water got in there in the action. And I knew right away when I went to go slide the action back, I'm like, wow, it feels like it's like frozen, you know? Pull it back, put a shell in it, put another shell in, put another shell in it. First round of ducks come. I go to pull the trigger, and the trigger didn't even pull.
I have a video of Caleb behind the blind with like a camping grill with the propane burners on, holding his gun over top of the
Over the
burners.
propane burner. And after that, then it was
only
fine.
if you had a Mr. Buddy heater.
Yeah. Yeah, shout out to Mr.
So that's
Buddy.
what you're shooting this year is the SX.
Okay, so yeah, that's what I'm going to be shooting again, unless I'm toying around, maybe bringing another gun to the table, but I don't know if I'm going to do it this year. I really got to put a muzzle loader up before I put another shotgun up, I think. But
what are you doing for
shells,
shells?
What chokes are you shooting?
Or what chokes and then what shells?
okay, to be honest with you, the chokes that comes with the stock chokes, I think they're junk. They're no good at all. It also came with, because I bought it from a guy that had it. It came with 3 chokes, just the like normal line Carlson chokes, and I was always the guy that just shot full choke, regardless, until about 3 years ago, and I got talked into throwing a mod in. Now I'm the guy that shoots a mod everywhere unless I'm hunting a rice field or long distance goose hunting, and boy has it changed my game, because with your pattern, when you get like Super X's or something, I don't even know if it matters what choke you have in. The shot's doing whatever it wants to do. But you get into those higher quality like TSS and loads like that, they're sticking together in there, and that wad's being stripped off of it. And with a full choke, I mean, think about it. If you're shooting 30 yards and your pattern is the size of this bottom base, you got to be pretty on the money to be taking that bird out.
Yeah.
Where you open that thing up to the size of a beach ball, and now you're giving yourself a little wiggle room. So, and those pellets are carrying that to velocity so much better. So one pellet is going to take the bird down. So I'm not shooting anything special for chokes. Run of the line, they seem to work great. Shells, I too got TSS last year, like Brandon. I loved it, swore by it. I also shot Apex when we were teal hunting at the shore.
What a waste of ammo, though.
Yeah, I had 10 rounds of it, and I shot 10 teal. I didn't go 1 for 1 for 1. It also took me a couple of some heavy hammer I had laying around or something, but I was able to go 3 for 3 in a volley. So that
that was split over a couple hunts. That wasn't all like one hunt either.
What, the Apex? Yeah, the Apex was one hunt at the shore. The box of 10. You weren't with me. I was with Seth. Remember?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So that was cool. But anyways, so Apex, probably not going to be able to afford that. So maybe a little TSS. I also got some Boss. So that was cool. I haven't shot any of it yet.
What shot sizes and different things?
Okay, so I went with 5s for ducks, and I went with, just to try it, I got a case of 1s. I'm going to try shooting those for geese. So that should be interesting. That's a step smaller than the BB. So we're going to try that.
Yeah, that's a step smaller, yeah.
Yeah.
I've actually got a box or 2 of 1s.
Do you? Mm-hmm. Have you shot them?
No.
Have you ever shot T's?
No.
I have triple BB that I bought last
probably
year.
the
triple
biggest
BB
I
is
ever
good.
shot. I always just went BB and 2s.
Yeah.
Maybe you're right with that box of Apex. I think I had that for 2 hunts and went 10 for 10.
That's what I thought. Like it was 2 back-to-back days, limited out. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was worth it in that regard, but I don't think I'll ever shoot like really cheap ammo again because time is too valuable. But an opportunities missed. I mean, a couple times last year we watched the TSS outperform anything else like 10-1, and the guys that were hunting with us when we went into the blind, they were down talking us about wasting our money and how stupid we are. What's the difference?
And then we came out carrying a lanyard full of birds that we shot
And
at.
I think that I think that they were sold on it, and now they all bought boxes from us on that hunt, and they'll be buying cases this year.
I have to say that I feel like there's a time where like I don't think my accuracy is there. I'm not going to shoot expensive stuff. Yeah. Like early season, I guess.
But how do you get better on your accuracy if you're shooting blanks? That's the question.
Well, that's true.
That's the problem.
True. There has to be a transition zone where you are going to shoot that expensive stuff and you're going to waste ammo. But for instance, like when we go snow goose hunting, chances are you're going to shoot a lot of ammo.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to give it your goal.
You know, yeah, exactly. So, I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard to.
I'm probably shooting my cheaper stuff when we go snow goose hunting.
Right.
Yeah, but at the question that
now
that
last year when we were setting up, I shot 3 cheap rounds.
No.
At a goose flying over.
That was conservation. So you had your plug out. So whatever 4, I guess it would have been.
Oh yeah, and I mean I didn't touch it.
He didn't touch it.
I just wham, wham, wham. It was flying right over my head, but like 65 yards up. It was while we were setting up.
And
didn't touch it.
I didn't even touch it.
I gave
didn't
him
cut a feather.
Another guy gave us a $5 shell too. Gave him one $5 shell.
I had 2
in the
boxes of them, but they were in the truck. So he's like, "Oh, take this, take this."
Okay, I'll take it.
1 shell, bang, blew him right out of the air.
Yeah. The problem is for me is right now I'm sitting on a lot of
Money?
miscellaneous. Well, no, just well, yeah, the money too. But
If you're
like,
sitting on a lot of money, buy you some of that Apex because it was worth it.
I'm sitting on a lot of miscellaneous ammunition right now that I'm like, I'm trying to use up. But my prior days of hunting where I would just spray and pray, I used to shoot a ton of ammo. Well, now there's hunts where I might only shoot 5 shots.
Right. But
with
ducks, the limit's 6. So if you can buy 6 shells,
yeah,
they're $3 a piece. So for under $20, you
have
shot
a
your
good
limit.
day.
yeah.
Or you buy a box for $30 of 25 junk shells. You guaranteed you're going to shoot all of them. I mean, we've ended hunts and shot down trees because we're so just tired of what we're hunting with.
And it comes down to percentage. If you know, that's kind of the thing that we talked about last year with the TSS, and even this year when we were discussing what shells we were going to buy, we kind of settled on Boss. Like we would love to buy 3 cases of TSS, but it's just not feasible to pay $4 for a shell like on our budget right now. Like eventually it'd be sweet to be able to shoot that expensive stuff all the time and kill birds every time you pull the trigger.
Yeah.
But you know,
if you can bring your accuracy up and bring the
Yes.
quality of your round up, you bring the price down at the end of the day.
That's true.
But I think we all have miscellaneous shells from when we couldn't find anything, and you looked on Rogers and they had a case of Super X's, and you're like, oh man, I'm gonna buy them for $400.
Yeah, something you probably should be careful of with the miscellaneous shells, which I've caught before, is I had a box of miscellaneous shells from seasons past. Right, you clean out your pockets; they're in your truck. You know, you find them rolling around, and the next year, go and pick up. All the green shells, those are the ones I want, or all the black ones. You take all the black ones. I've found while I was loading my hunting bag like the night before, because I try to get everything ready the night before, so if I do wake up a little late, then I'm still ready to go. I'm loading up all my black clouds. Freaking pheasant load, number 6.
He's like, man, I just love this black cloud. I'm like,
yeah.
You're shooting lead like heavy.
Yeah, so something like that. Now I'm like super careful. Like I caught it that time, obviously, and the last thing you want to do is A, shoot that, and B, get caught shooting that. But that's what happens with miscellaneous shells. Like, don't color code it. Make sure you read the label.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's your term of miscellaneous shells. Mine is like full boxes labeled and organized.
No, mine is like I took 4 out of this box, 8 out of that one, a few pocketfuls here.
Rolling around all over the place.
Yeah, Caleb's like the guy with a 2-gallon Ziploc bag just of all different shells.
Yeah.
Well, when we went to Arkansas last year, the one kid we hunted with, he literally pulled out a 5-gallon Ziploc bag on one of our hunts because he ran out of ammo. And it was like, it was all steel shot. He was completely legal, but it was from like triple BB all the way to like number 7
It's like
steel.
stuff you found at a garage sale or something, you know. It's
Migra and all this junk shot at the end of the day, but
yeah, that's what makes it fun. There's so much that goes into it.
and it's addicting. It really is. Like,
And it's cool to see, you know, like we screwed around a little bit last year. We probably don't pattern our shotguns like we should. Like that's something that I'd like to do this year before the season. Take the 3 shells that I'm going to definitely shoot them through my full choke and my mod just to see how it's shooting. Every time that I go to pattern my gun, I always run out of time or it's almost dark or, you know, whatever's happening. And for each gun, it's going to be a little bit different. But for each guy, I think it's a mind thing. Like you gain confidence. Like once I shot the first 5 or 6 ducks that I shot with the Apex and then still had a couple to go and shoot a couple more, those next couple shells, dude, when I pulled the trigger, the duck was already dead in my head. And that's exactly how it played out. Where like if I take a box of Super X's out there, I'm like, well, I shot at him, I was right on him, but boy, I didn't kill him, you know.
Yeah.
But it does get in your head. So
Well, that's a big thing where it's like you aim at a bird and you shoot and you're like, I know I should have hit that bird and I didn't. What's going on? You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like that's where you can start playing mind games with.
But
yourself.
that's when you don't. Was I behind it?
Yeah,
Was
well,
I?
then you
Did I
start
lead
changing,
it
then
too
you- yeah,
far?
Then you do different things.
Before you
and-
know it, you're jumping so bad that you're never gonna shoot.
Yeah,
one.
exactly. Or it's like, no, you were on it, but your pattern just wasn't good, and now you're trying to shoot 3 feet in front of it or behind it, or
Right.
yeah.
Something I think I see a lot in the videos. You know, watching them back. I don't always notice it in the moment. Now I'm more paying attention to it. Is like, say I call the shot. Say we're goose hunting. There's 15 guys. I call the shot. It seems that now last year we did way better at it because we brought it up. But earlier on, everybody is shooting for the same 3 birds that are low.
Oh,
yes.
So
Pick
that-
birds high.
That hurts, right? You know, pick apart if you're the so-called party hunting. Pick it apart and just decide, you know, these guys are going to take the leaders of the pack. These guys are going to take the back of the pack. Now, we swung almost 360 the other way, and I saw in a couple videos where there was a few geese that were probably within arm's length of the blinds,
That's the best.
and those ones never got killed, ever. They always made it through. But Jim Bob, who was 100 yards behind the flock, flying over the trees, he took
got
8
smoked.
shells to the side of the head.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, how does that even happen? Like, why did everybody just key in on that one bird and the 3 bands flew
That's
right out
definitely
the
what
front?
I try to pick ones that are not right in front of everybody.
Right.
Pick ones that are a little bit, up high or yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and it's easy because it's not easy. It's easy for the guy on the left side. Let's say the birds are working in from your right. It's easy for the guy on the left side or the 2 guys on the left side to shoot those lead birds.
Right.
The 2 guys on the right side shoot the end birds. But those 7 people in the middle are all shooting at the same 3 birds.
Right.
So that's where it gets hard. And like you said, if you talk about it before and kind of make a plan or whatnot, but and goose hunting is different because there's a variety of people that show up to our goose hunts,
And
which is cool.
Yeah.
I think it's really important when you're duck hunting too. Don't be afraid to take turns. Like obviously, if you don't have a lot of ducks in your area, you know, and a pair comes in,
Waffle it.
you're probably going to hear a couple shots go off. But if you know, like, hey, there's going to be another pair after this, or you have a strong feeling, say, hey, why don't you 2 guys shoot? Or why don't you 2 guys shoot?
Which
Then
we did.
For one, you know who is actually, you know, shooting these ducks and claiming them. And 2, you can kind of have the enjoyment of like, you know, laugh at, Will missed. Like, it was all Will's shoot and he didn't do it, you know, and then Brandon shot and he hit both of them.
Yeah, jeez.
That never happened, but
Oh,
Anyways.
man, guys.
All right. I think we can wrap this up now. We're a little over an hour here, so
Yeah,
I think that was pretty
like I
intuitive.
said, yeah, I enjoyed this one.
absolutely. Caleb and Brandon here are resident waterfowl experts. It's always a blast to have you guys on. And honestly, I probably learn more in these podcasts than I do any other time we go hunting. So I appreciate all the insight and the helpful tips. And good conversation that you guys bring.
Yeah, this was a lot. This was
Thanks
fun.
for having us on.
Yeah,
I'll do it again sometime.
No problem.
Thank you guys,
Absolutely.
and I'm glad we could teach you a little something. Maybe get you a kill or two.
Yeah,
Yeah, hopefully get you a little tuned up, excited for waterfowl
Yeah.
season.
Oh
I'm
man,
excited.
we're
5 days until September goose season, so
I'm not ready.
Ooh.
it's within arm's reach at this point. If we find birds, that's a whole different story.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're super stoked for the upcoming season. We hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. We're looking forward to some waterfowl videos coming here shortly. So stay tuned.
All right. We'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching
Thanks,
or
guys.
listening.